Okay, hi. Hi, I'm Mark, and this is my building at 530 West End Avenue where I live, on the corner of West End and 86th Street. So, on the morning of 9/11, this is where I was getting ready for work. When I got to the subway, I realized that there was a primary election that day and we were voting for mayor. So, instead of going into the subway, I turned the corner and went to Euclid Hall to vote. It was a sunny day, just like today. And Euclid Hall is right down there where that woman is walking at this point. After I voted, I went down into the subway again to catch my ride down to the World Trade Center on the number 1 train there.
Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge.
It's about a half-hour ride down to the Trade Center where I normally get off at Portland Street, but that day I got off at Chambers.
This is the South Ferry Bound 1 train. The next stop is Chambers Street. Stand clear, please.
This is Chambers Street. This is where I got off on that day.
The South Ferry Bound 1 train. The next stop is Brentwood.
Normally, the train should have gone to Portland Street right into the Trade Center, but on that day, like today, I got out on Chambers Street because the train could no longer go into the Trade Center. My tower had already been hit by the first airplane. And when I got to the street and I looked down toward the Trade Center, Tower 1 was burning. You can't see it today, but the sight line was straight down this street on that day. And looking up, you could see the tower. I was shocked. So I ran down toward the Trade Center in this direction, and the same thing happened on that day. People were all going the other way. No one was going in my direction on that day. I ran until I got down to the post office that you're seeing in front of you here. And at that point, 2 police officers stopped me and told me I couldn't go in. I explained to them that I was trying to go in and help people in the building because my company, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, owned the building. So I felt an obligation to go in and try to help. But they were having none of that. So I realized there was no way I was going to get into the building in that direction. This corner looked very different on 9/11. You couldn't see right into the Trade Center complex like you can today. At that point, there was a wall and an escalator that went up, and the Trade Center complex was above the street level that we're on. I was still determined to get in and help, so I turned down this street on Barclay and started to go down to the corner of Church Street down here. I was still thinking, well, maybe I can get in and help, and I wasn't realizing how bad the situation was. So as I started to walk down here, I got almost to the corner. And when I got almost to the corner, I heard the loudest jet engine noise that I've ever heard in my life. It sounded like the jet was right on top of me, just a deafening noise. And then, immediately in front of me there, things started to break. It was the debris flying from the jet aircraft that had just crashed into the second building to World Trade Center. I looked up in the air, and on that day, all I saw was debris filling the sky. It was paper that had been pushed out of the building and other things, and I sheltered against the wall here, not sure if something might fall on me, but only for a minute. And then I was up and running to the corner where I turned down Church Street and ran for a few blocks down Church until I got to Warren Street, several blocks back down toward where I had come from. As I did that, I saw debris on the street. Some of it was aluminum. It looked like it had come out of the jet engines. It was on the street. I did not see anyone hurt, and I was very happy for that, but I was definitely in shock at that point. This is the new World Trade Center. It's not in exactly the same spot as the old Trade Center. It's a little bit off the side because the footprint where the old World Trade Center was is now the World Trade Center Memorial. And this is the transportation hub at the new World Trade Center. This is the World Trade Center 9/11 Memorial Plaza, and this is where your trees come from. I'm walking up to the memorial pool for One World Trade Center. This was the building that I worked in. It was called One World Trade Center, and a lot of people refer to it as the North Tower.
Yeah.
And all the things that you hear about the Trade Center.
If you want.
Across the pool, you can see the World Trade Center's 9/11 Memorial Museum. These are the names of some of the people that died in the World Trade Center on 9/11, 2001. Most of these names come from the company that I worked for, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Looking across the plaza from the One World Trade Center Memorial, you can see the post office. That was the building I was standing behind, and it shielded me from being hurt that day from any falling debris or debris flying through the air when that aircraft hit. There is one tree at the World Trade Center that's different, and it's this one. This is called the Survivor Tree. All the other trees on this grounds are swamp oaks, but not this. This is a Callery pear tree, and what makes it unique is that it was here on 9/11 and nearly destroyed. But they took it up to a nursery in the northern part of Manhattan in a park, and they nurtured it back to health. And while it was up there, it was also uprooted again. So it's been through a lot. And it's called the Survivor Tree. So it's a really great part of the symbolism of the World Trade Center Memorial Plaza, in that it's meant to represent all of the living things that went through this terrible crisis on this day. And yet they survived, they grew stronger, and they thrive today. So the Survivor Tree is a very treasured part of the Memorial Plaza to most of those of us who actually were there on that day. Across from the Survivor Tree is the second pool, representing Tower 2, or what some people call the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The memorial pools were constructed to fill the footprint of the World Trade Center itself. And so this tree line that you see here represents the outer perimeter of the old World Trade Center building when it stood here. So a portion of the area that you stand on when you look down at the memorial is part of the old World Trade Center footprint, and the pools themselves do not cover the footprint entirely. That way you get the effect of actually standing in the World Trade Center or standing on the footprint when you're standing here inside the row of the trees and looking down at the pool, at the memorial pool, and across to the World Trade Center Memorial Museum. Had I continued to work at the Port Authority today, I would be working in this building here. So a lot of my friends who are still with the Port Authority working for World Trade Center, right there. Immediately beside Tower 4 is Tower 1 of the new World Trade Center, 1,776 feet tall to the top. I hope you enjoyed the little film here, Micah. I'm going to play you out with a little piece from the bagpipes on the plaza that day.